Jesus said to them, I will not tell you by what authority I am doing these things. Authority. I remember years ago having to do a philosophy essay on authority, and from what I can recall, there were three main types of authority. One is de facto authority, which is natural or charismatic authority. Then there's de jure authority, which is conferred or legal authority, such as being an MP or a qualified electrician, a doctor or a teacher, a nurse. The third is being an authority on something. For example, it may be quantum physics, garden birds, or Gothic architecture. So a person can be an authority, in authority, and have authority. Or they can be an authority, in authority, and have no authority. Or they may not be an authority, nor in authority, and yet have authority. There are all kinds of different permeations. I always found philosophy fascinating, even when I found it difficult, and often, very often, too complicated to understand. In today's reading, which comes from Matthew 21, we find Jesus teaching in the synagogue, and whilst doing so, the chief priests and the scribes appear. These men would have had authority conferred on them by the law in order that they could preach and teach, and they would, I would think, be authorities in some particular area of scripture or law. They immediately asked Jesus who gave him the authority to teach in the synagogue, and also who confirmed his authority. For if he has not been given authority, then what he is doing is clearly blasphemy, which is punishable by death. You can almost feel the tension in the silence as those present wait and watch to see and hear what will unfold in the cool of the synagogue. I almost sense that Jesus pauses, then slowly turns to look at these men before he says to them, You answer my question, and then I will answer yours. He then asks, Did John's authority to teach come from God, or was it given by men? The priests and the scribes have now got a real problem. If they reply that John taught with the authority of God, Jesus will ask them, Why then did you not believe John when he told you what was to come? If they reply that his authority was not God-given, then they will offend John's many followers who believe in him as a prophet and who spoke with the authority of God. Their answer can only be, We do not know, to which Jesus responds, Neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things. The powers that be constantly question Jesus' authority to teach and to heal. Throughout the Gospels, you read of Jesus being confronted by the powers of the day. St. Matthew paints a picture of Jesus in his Gospel as an authority in Scripture and the law, someone who has been given some kind of heavenly authority to heal, and also a man who has the natural authority to hold a crowd, an audience, not only with his words, but also because who and what he is. Jesus is, though, much, much more than a mere figure of authority in all its meanings. We cannot just assume that his authority rests on the proof of texts or by the signs and wonders he performed, no matter how impressive they were. So where then does the authority of Jesus Christ rest? Where is the authority of Jesus Christ revealed? And how does the authority of Jesus Christ manifest itself? Well, let me tell you a little story. An old teacher once said to his pupils, Tell me how you can tell when the night is ended and the day is on its way back into the world. One pupil immediately put up his hand. It is when you can see in the distance an animal, and you can tell definitely whether or not it is a dog or a sheep. No, answered the teacher. It is then when you look out and you can tell the difference between an oak and a beech tree without any hesitation, said another pupil. No, replied the teacher. Well then, the pupils demanded, when is it that you can tell when night is ended and the day is once more returning to the world? The teacher looked at his pupils and said, it is when you can look on the face of another human being and see that he or she is your brother or sister. If you cannot do that, then no matter what time it is still night. The authority of Jesus is revealed quite simply in his humanity, his utter, complete and total humanity. If we were to insist on verification of his authority, he would, I think, as he did with Thomas, show us his wounds and then invite us to trust and follow him. If we were to demand to see his credentials, his response would be, as it was to those priests and scribes, I won't tell you. The authority of Jesus rests on who he is. We need only to read the Gospels to look, hear, see and learn about that humanity. And when we have done that, to walk out into the world and try our very best to be just what we know that Jesus has called us to be. Today, as we live through these times of uncertainty, there is one thing that is always constant, one thing that is unshakable, and that is the authority given to Jesus Christ by God, his Father and our Father, which enabled him to say with complete authority to us, his children, remember, I am with you always, even to the end of time.